Everyone's having a good JNUC? Okay, so next session coming up, take your Chrome browser management to the next level, right? We have three wonderful people here to tell you all about it. Just a FYI, right? Q&A is decided via the app. So open up your JNUC app, hit the little session title bit in the bottom of the corner, Q&A, select a session, add your questions. At Q&A time, we'll read them out. Please, if you don't have a question, go in, take a look there, because you can vote up questions, okay? I might not take the most voted one, but we'll never know. But at that moment, yeah, anyway, enjoy the session. Thanks.
Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Jeez, it's after lunch. We're all sleepy. We all need a little break here. So welcome today to taking your Chrome browser to the next level and with the management. Little introductions here are in order. Over here, we've got Alex Bauer. He's going to be basically finishing this off. I'm going to be starting here. My name is Curtis Armstrong. I am a K-12 sales engineer here at Jamf and on the education team. I'm joined by Larry Stiegel here, who is partner in crime here on the SE team for K-12 education. And of course, Alex, I neglected to mention that you are with Google. So we've got the core team here ready to get you going. So let's actually get going here. All right. So I always like to ask a lot of questions when I'm talking to prospects and I'm talking to customers. And most of those questions start with why. Why do you want to do this? You may know what you want to do, and you may even know how to do it. Of course, you're probably asking me how to do it. But I always like to find out why, and that's a very important thing to understand. So why would we want to manage Chrome browser? Right, well, here's some great examples up floating across the screen here. So we want to make corporate resources easier to get to. We want to secure those kiosks if they're in like a single app mode or something. And there's a few more here. Now, I have a question for you. Like I said, I like to ask questions. Put your hand up, and I'm assuming this is going to be all of you, but put your hand up if you are the Jamf admin for your organization. That's good to see, right? Now keep your keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Are you also the Google admin for your organization? Yeah. See, so someone else is doing that job, right? That's good to know because we're going to be taking two different approaches here. We're kind of building on things that we've learned, and so what I'm going to actually start with here is talking about resources first. So where do you go to get this information? Well, thankfully, Google has more documentation than Jamf does. How to find that? I've got the link down here at the bottom here, chromeenterprise.google.policies. And we'll be referencing this a few times during the session today. This is pretty much your one-stop shop in order to understand what resources you have available for Chrome browser management. Something to keep in mind here. When we're talking about Apple devices, and we're talking about Macs, and we're talking about iPads, certain policies in this document might not work, right? And if you are the Google admin, actually there's a really nice little, it kind of gives the little icons, right? It shows you which functionality for which device type you can enforce. So, when we talk about iPads and management and we talk about Macs and Chrome browser management, there's going to be some crossover and there's going to be a few things that Mac can do than iPad. So, the journey today is going to start with me talking about how to, there we go, do this on iOS devices. And because we might have some folks here that are using Jamf Pro as well as Jamf School, we'll touch on those. Know that they're like 95% the same method. It's the same thing that you're doing in AppConfig, but there's a few different little tweaks that you have to make to that information in there. So we're going to do that first. I'm going to hand the magic button here over to Larry, and he's going to cover macOS, Jamf Pro, Jamf School. Then Larry's going to pass the baton over to Alex to talk about taking it to the next level, which is level, anybody?
2000.
Jedi. All right, yeah, there we go. 11, turning it up to 11. So we're going to all cram this in the next few minutes. So let's talk about machine policies for iOS. So we can very easily lock certain Chrome settings just by creating some fancy XML, right? And we'll add that into an app record. So when we're deploying apps through Jamf, whether it's School or Pro, you've got that option for app configuration, right? And it's that little bit of XML that, as long as the developer, thank you, supports that on the application, you can add that in, and it will affect that app in certain ways. So those are called app configs. So a little bit more on app config. Again, defined by the developer, and Google does support that, thankfully. And there's even a little example here on the screen of what the basic formatting for that looks like. And that's where it does differ a little bit between Jamf Pro and Jamf School. All right, so on to app config Jamf Pro. Again, slight differences here. And the key thing is that when you're going in to create this, I've got another example. And we didn't make a handout, which now I'm kind of regretting. But anyway, you know, if you have any questions, you know how to come up to us and talk to us and everything like that. And we'll get you all the details that you need to do that. Pretty straightforward. But again, you're going to go in and you're going to add that app configuration. And here's a little better example of it right here. And the key part of this when we're doing this, and you'll see a little demo of this that I'm going to do, well, a video of a demo I'm going to do. And you'll see that I add the PLIST tag to the beginning and the end of that app config for Jamf School. And that's the only difference, literally the only difference. So you might start to notice as I'm talking along here that you see some words here in the keys, right? Incognito, new tab page, safe browsing, managed bookmarks. Those are all coming straight out of that document that I referenced earlier. So all you need to know is that document to understand what might be possible when you're configuring this content. So here's what it's going to look like in school. And we go to different places to do this. And since Larry and I both work on the education team, and we have a lot of customers using both Pro or Jamf School, or even in some cases, and Jamf School. So you know, let's say that so you want to include some different app configs and settings for different devices within your organization. This is Jamf School, and this is how we're going to set it up. And we're actually going to be down in that bottom right corner there is where you're going to add that custom app configuration. All right, so I promised you I'd show you how to do this. And oh yeah, here's my little extra note about Jamf School, because I want to make sure that you don't get an error message when you try to deploy this. And you can always see that in the device record itself. But that's the important part there to note. So let's see and take a look at what this looks like. And I'm going to talk through this video as we're doing it. So I'm doing it in Jamf School just because you know, I had to pick a choice, right? So very first thing I want to do is I know I want to set incognito mode. And I want to restrict that. I don't want to allow my users to do that. So I need to do a little homework first before I do that. I'm going to search for that, and I'm going to kind of make a note. I'm going to copy it into a note that you can't see offside there. I'm going to copy that preference name there. Now, I also need one more piece of information. I need to know what the key is to restrict it, right? And that's going to be the number 1, incognito mode disabled. Very important. I'm going to store those to memory or to a note, even better. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to Jamf School, or in case Jamf Pro, if you're using that, I'm going to go in and I'm going to find my Chrome application, my iOS app specifically. And if you haven't ever seen the interface in Jamf School, here it is, right? We're going to come down to add and managed app configuration. We're going to name it appropriately, because it's possible that you may have more than one of these too. So just make sure that you add an appropriate name in there for that. Now, when I'm building, and I'm not just straight up copying XML from website or Jamf Nation or something like that, I like to kind of build my beginning and my end. And I like to work from the outside in, because you want to make sure that you're closing your tags appropriately in every case, right? And this is the way, this helps me because I'm like, okay, I've got a beginning and an end, and then I've got another beginning and an end, and I just keep moving towards the middle as I'm creating these. Ultimately, up to you how you do it. But where the key is, I'm going to add that key in for incognito mode. Very easy to do. Now, what I didn't mention here, and this is the reason for my question, right? If you're not Google admin, you may not have access to using Google Admin Console, right? You may know somebody who does, but let's say you don't. You want to get this out in a hurry because for whatever reason your students are or your users are, misusing incognito mode. Never happens. And so this gives you the ability as the Jamf admin to affect these devices in a good way, right? Or in a way that meets your organization's needs or your compliance needs. So I've got my incognito mode availability there. Am I missing anything? I added my integer value of 1, and I'm going to save it. Now, something that's kind of cool in Jamf School is that I can create, for different groups that I have this app deployed to, I can actually specify which app config goes to which group, which is kind of cool. Jamf Pro, in order to do that, you do need to duplicate the app record in order to set different app configurations. But that's it, right? I hit the save button, and now I can see that my devices have received that app config. And let's go and see. Let's see, is there anything else that I missed here? I don't think so. I've got this going on. I've got the app config right on. Yeah, so now probably, you might be able to see this. If you've got the eagle eyes, you're good right here, right? So I open up Chrome browser on my iPad. I come up here and look at that. No incognito mode available to my users. Done. Woohoo!
You terrible human being.
I know, right? I'm a terrible person, right? Oh, you admin. Gosh, right on. So, I mean, really quickly, and I mean, that was really quick. That was pretty easy, right? Very easy to do. You want to set the home page. You want to set bookmarks, disable incognito mode, which is usually I can't believe we got a round of applause for that. That is great, right? That's very cool.
Obviously, these are administrators, and some of them may be in schools where people want incognito mode disabled.
Who knows? Right. So, I mean, that is it on an iPad, right? You get it out. If you need to make modifications to that, you need to, again, maybe you want to set that for true for a group of users and false for the others. You could also, you notice there were those keys there, you could push that out so that incognito mode is available, that kind of thing. So that was iPad. I'm going to hand it over to Larry here.
The holy clicker, huh?
To the holy clicker.
There we go.
Oh, wait, I did have to say. I used this in another session yesterday, but I just have to.
That was easy.
Cool. Right on.
So now, first of all, thank you for coming in. I'm going to talk to you about machine policies. And basically, I think Curtis gave an excellent, and let's give Curtis a thanks, man. I think Curtis did a great job. So I'm going to talk to you about machine policies, and I think one of the things that Curtis touched on is that documentation that Google provides on preference domains. And I'm kind of a strange person. I kind of consider preference domains the ingredients for my fine dinner. So I'm going to sit there and, as you all can see, I hardly ever eat. I do not enjoy meals. I'm very, very, very particular, but I do enjoy a fine thing. And the cool part is Google gives us this list of ingredients. And in the hands of somebody that's just learning to cook, we can make scrambled eggs, and that's what I'm doing right now with my Jamf Pro system on my machine policies. I'm doing some very basic things. I'm going in exactly what Curtis is doing, and I'm taking those preference domains and I'm getting those keys. And Google gives me the ability to search for them by operating system. So it's pretty quick. Like Curtis pointed out, in less than 5-10 minutes, he was able to put out that system for incognito mode. That teacher that sat there and said, I want to make sure that those kids don't have access. I've got it taken care of. Or it may be something like in a kiosk where we want to always have incognito mode so that everything is always cleared out. So again, property lists. As we know, those property list files, they work and function in a very similar fashion. And I'm just going to sit there and take this information. All of this is fully documented with Apple, and we're going to put in the same information in the same format that Curtis talked about. So let's go ahead and see. What does this look like? And the joys of clicking and hoping the video plays. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my configuration profile. Now I'm different from Curtis. I actually look everything up, and I have a second monitor that none of you see. My second monitor is actually my iPad, but anyway, we'll talk later. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my basic configurations. I name my configuration profile first and foremost, and then I go in and I go to my applications, and I go in and I put in my preference domain. It's very complicated. Please make sure that you pay close attention to what we're putting in. com.google.chrome. How complicated is that? And then I take my information, and I'm going just like Curtis. I'm putting my information in. Now, I want you to see, this is painfully slow, isn't it? I took high school typing back in 1978. Of 35 students who tested, I was number 34. So I am a horrendous keyboard person. I am the worst person on the planet. My skills are horrendous in typing. So I'm going through, and Jamf is telling me, hey, you're not done. You need to fix this stuff. So what I should have done is maybe copied and pasted, but I'm getting this information in, and I'm slowly but surely putting in those keys. I'm putting in those property list elements. I'm putting in those values. Curtis is on the phone. He's called me from his school. He's saying, Larry, when are those Chrome back? I'm working on it, Curtis. I'm going to get through it, buddy. Just give me a few more minutes. And so I'm getting these things put in. Yeah, okay, it's going to get there. Please excuse my work. It's going to come across. There we go. Now we're getting to the second component. And we're going through all these things, and we're entering this information in. We're getting those property lists in. And those property lists can be extremely long and extremely complicated. And keep in mind, how many of you are perfect typists that have zero failure? Congratulations. I want to talk to you after the meeting. You and I are going to hang out because I'm going to need you for my next demo because this is painful, isn't it? This is horrendous. But this is what we're doing is we're trying to get this information into the system. Now, Jamf makes it easy to do. The failure is me, the Jamf admin, because of my stuff, and I'm looking back over. And how many of you have ever made a keyboard entry mistake when you're putting in information into Jamf? Have any of you ever done that? That's fun, isn't it? It's always fun when you sit there and you go, why isn't this working? You spend 4 days, you figure it out. Have any of you done test profiles and you're sitting there and you go, okay, I'm going to test this and I'm going to go ahead and deploy it out, and all of a sudden you notice your test configuration profile didn't hit one device, it hit 43,000 devices? We call those resume generating events. But in any event, what we're doing is we're putting in our information. So most of you have worked with property lists and are comfortable in pulling that information, correct? And you also have a good test policy so that we don't deploy this out to 43,000 devices at the same time, correct? So we're going through, again, how many of you would have done this a different way? What would you have done, sir? Well, you could have used a JSON schema. Oh, now see, you're stealing information out of me. How many of you are familiar that there's actually a JSON schema that's available? Woohoo, isn't that the coolest thing? Again, the painful demo will go away someday, sir. We will all someday get through this pain. But the key is, this is if you don't have any access, if you're not comfortable with that you do have a resource. There is a JSON schema which you can upload into your Jamf Pro system, which will give you a lot of this information. It will put those preference domains for you, and then you can make those adjustments, okay? But it will provide all of them for you, and you kind of have to go through and look, so there are advantages to it, but you have other options. Now, I always tell everybody, what is the greatest resource when at 3 o'clock in the morning you have no idea where to go, but you should ask somebody else, and it's 2 a.m. where Curtis lives, and he's not going to answer his phone, and I got to make sure this is ready for my superintendent in the morning. Where should I look? Slack is a good thing, but of course, what's even better than Slack if all of you are not on my Slack? I mean, Mac admin Slack is great, and I post stuff out there, and people are always wanting it. You're going to laugh. Do a look on Jamf Nation. I mean, I hate to say this, but the very first thing when I was a Mac admin, when we first deployed out stuff 12, 13 years ago, very first thing I did every day was read Jamf Nation posts to see what's going on, what new updates are available, elements like that. So in any event, we go through, we finish out, we complete it. You know what, is this painful enough for you? Have I made my point? This is not a fun way to do my operation. Can I go to the next slide? By a show of hands, can I go to the next slide? Thank you. All right, so we've gone through, we've done our configuration, we've tested it, we've deployed it. Is there a better way? We've already made one mention of JSON. Isn't that the coolest way in the world? But what if Curtis and I work for the same school district, the same organization? Curtis has the iPads in Jamf School. but I have all the Macs in Jamf Pro. What happens? Are we going to sit there and swap our files back and forth? And remember, Curtis has to do that PLIST tag on the front of Jamf School. What happens if I do that in Jamf Pro? I'm going to have a problem. Nah, man, this is crazy. There has to be a better way. JSON is one adoption that can be a better way. But wait, there's more. And what is that better way? Well, this is where the wonderful gentleman from the great state of Washington is going to talk, Mr. Alex Bauer.
All right. Thank you. So, raise of hands. I guess most of you guys are Mac admins, I'm hoping, right? We're in the wrong conference if not. How many of you guys have more than Apple devices in your environment? All right. How many of you guys manage those non-Apple devices? Right? Most of you guys. How many of you guys not talk to your other platform device admins because, you know, Apple's better than the other ones and so forth? There's one guy, right? So with that, and kind of extracting from what Larry was doing as a part of the conversation is, you have to, in this approach that they were showing, is you have to redo all these steps every single time you want to deploy a policy, right? And so when you have to deal with the other platform that we don't talk about at this conference, you now have to do those same policies and convert them into other kinds of policies, which are registry changes. And those have their own structure in their own way, right? Or if you do it in Tune, you have to make sure that your templates are there and all this other stuff. So it's a pain in the, yeah. So with our Chrome Browser Cloud Management solution, what we do is we allow you to use the best of breed for what you're trying to do. Jamf is fantastic at managing the Apple ecosystem, right? So we let Jamf manage the Apple ecosystem because they're good at that, right? We believe that our tool is the best at managing the browser. So what we encourage you to do is do a hybrid approach where you offload, in a way, your browser management away from Jamf, but it is enabled through Jamf. And then you allow it to be managed through our admin console. The cool part about this whole thing is that there is no cost associated with our console. It's zero, it's complimentary, $0, or however you want to say it. You can manage as many devices as you want from as many platforms as you want. So Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android is fully supported in here. So the benefit of this solution that we have is that it not only gives you controls to enforce those policies that Larry was trying to do, but it now also get a lot of the reporting in there. So he asked how many of you guys have made errors entering policies in there, right? How did he check if you made an error, or did you have a way of checking if you made an error on those policies? Any of you guys? It doesn't work. Okay, so you would have to sit down.
Alex, I think we need to reiterate because our streaming audience may not have said that.
He said
Alex,
it doesn't work.
He said it doesn't work.
So with that, you would have to sit down, take a device, make sure it's in the right association group in Jamf, make sure it's getting the policy, make sure it, then start Chrome and check that the feature is disabled, right? So you don't get that feedback loop of making sure that the policy is deployed correctly, right? With our browser management solution, you get that reporting of all the policies that are deployed into your devices, as well as all of your extensions. Do you guys know what extensions you have in your environment? One guy.
I thought there was one over there.
Two, all right, a couple of them. Do you guys control extensions? Hey, raise your hands, okay. Any of you guys not controls extensions at all? Okay, there's a few. So you guys you're courageous, right, from an information security perspective, because you don't know what's running in there. So with our solution, we have that reporting itself that shows you all of your extensions, and that's when you delegate the role to information security to say, hey, man, here's what's running in my environment. And that's when your information security guy is having a heart attack, because he's like, man, my guys are shopping on with Honey coupon clipping extension, and the PayPal one, or the eBay one, and
VPN and
VPN
public education.
and all this other stuff, right? So now you have all the capability to do all of that in a one-stop shop on all of your platforms. So as I said, you get the extension and security management. You get centralized policy management on all of your platforms, not just iPads or Macs. You also get security reporting and insights. That allows you to also get events in your browser. So let's say our users go to one of those beautiful safe browsing pages, the red page that says, please don't go here, you're going to get hacked, right? And your users pretty much go, totally, I want to go shop on this site that looks nefarious, right? Get my data. All of those type of events we can capture and report. So now you can look at patterns and trends. Is it one guy that's doing this, so we need to have the conversation with him, or is it a bunch of people? So now we need to figure out if there's a security event, right? Manage profiles on unmanaged devices. This is like an extension of our solution, and that allows you, if you have Google Workspace, you can access or manage those Chrome profiles on like BYOD devices or your home devices. If not, if you don't have Google Workspace, we can help you get Google Identity for your company and do Google's Chrome Sync on those devices. And then with that, we also can connect to your security tools. If you have Splunk, if you have CrowdStrike, Chronicle, or if you're using Okta or Ping, I believe, we can send a device trust connector with those tools. I know I kind of said it a little bit ahead of that, but some of the things that we are seeing as common themes in the industry, as talking with our customers, right, is there's a risk of the browser extensions that because we don't know what's running, right? Lack of controls over the browsers because the browsers are not managed, and so people can do whatever they want in those browsers, right? We have not always protection against phishing and malware if we haven't enabled safe browsing, right? Data exfiltration is also another concern for some of our administrators. No visibility to the browsers, kind of what I asked, like, do you know what's running in your browser? If you don't collect any of the non-private data, because we don't capture any of the private data, by the way, you have no way of knowing, right, what extensions are running. And as well as being able to control a little bit that browser experience on unmanaged devices. So, with that, some of the things that we do from a security and reporting and insights, we do version reporting, so you can get a full inventory of all of your browser versions across all of your fleet. So when you have Jamf School and Jamf Pro in like your environment, you have to go in both tools to figure out what version your browsers are on if you have a way to capture that. We do an aggregate of your whole environment on all of your platforms, right? If you have the other platform that we don't talk about, you have to go in that tool to figure out what version those browsers are as well, right? And then another thing that's coming for us is the legacy tech report. That is a feature that would allow you to be aware of what websites are going to be impacted in your environment if we're going to be deprecating, for example, some sort of technology that is back from the dark ages that you should not be using anymore, right? You have not, as an admin, you don't necessarily know everything that's running in your browsers because in your apps, I'm sorry, because you didn't code those apps, right? Some of them were coded 20 years ago and you're still using them, right? So you want to be able to be aware if those apps are impacted so you can go to the app owners and help them prepare for such situations, right? And then, as I said earlier, you can send some of those events to your SIM tools, such as Splunk, CrowdStrike, and Palo Alto Networks, and then you can look at patterns and trends that way. Some of the connectors that we have currently through our console are Chronicle, Splunk, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, PubSub, and Chronicle. I said Chronicle, sorry. With PubSub, if you don't see any of these SIM tools available that you might have, you might be able to send the data through a Chronicle, to a PubSub connector. So that allows you to send to more data than the ones that are showcased in here. And then you can see all sorts of types of events that we currently support as part of their reporting in there. So some of them require our Bianco Enterprise solution, which is our very limited subset of those events. But most of them that would matter to you, such as going to one of those red pages that says, please don't go there, that can get captured, or an extension installation. Or if you're monitoring for password changes, you can actually monitor if people are reusing their passwords in their personal sites, right? Password 1 used on all of my corporate sites and my personal sites, right? Things like that. So a quick demo with that. Hopefully the video plays. Let's see. All right. So this is the Google Admin Console. In here, you see I have, and this is used to manage many Google products. I have all sorts of organizational units. I go in there and I generate a token that's assigned to one organizational unit, and I can copy that into Jamf. Jamf does a fantastic job at providing an easy mechanism for you to deploy that token. If you go in a managed configuration in Jamf Pro and add an application custom setting profile, in the Jamf repository, there's an entry for your favorite browser, which we know what it is because you read this session, right? And it literally populates a box for you to just paste the token. Once you paste the token, now you can offload that browser management away from Jamf, so you don't have to do PLISTs and write code and things like that. And then you manage all of those browsers through our console, right? Same thing would go for your other platforms. You deploy the token through whatever they use to manage those. We don't talk about that. And then at that point, the browser, as soon as it restarts, it becomes managed by our console. Some of the benefits in here that you get is, and I know the video played a little faster than I was able to talk, but you get the inventory of the devices themselves. You get the name of the device, the user, however many profiles you have in that device. If a user signs in with the Google account, with that in mind, any of you guys block Gmail profile edition or control? No? That's one guy. So all of your users can sign in with the Gmail account at the profile layer, right? That means, if you think of it from a security perspective, you cannot enforce a multi-factor authentication standard on those personal accounts, right? Those users go and sign in with their Gmail, get their corporate bookmarks, put in all of their passwords in there, all that history. They go home, go shopping on some nefarious website. That attacker gets their Gmail credentials. Now, all of a sudden, that attacker has a lot of information about your company. That information can now be used to stage an attack, possibly, in your network, because now they have a lot of information about you. So this is why we always recommend our customers to use Google Identity.
Remind me when I get home tonight to not sign into my Jamf browser.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just check.
So
Yeah.
another thing that we give you is a full inventory of all the extensions, right? Now you know exactly what's running into your browsers if you're not managing extensions like that guy over there. And then when or also all the policies. So I mentioned earlier about that feedback loop, right? You now see exactly what policies deployed in the browser, what values deployed for that policy. So now you know exactly what experience the user should have in the browser, right? Is incognito mode enabled? You look in the policy? Cool. It's not, because I disabled it, right? Am I pushing extension settings or anything like that? You can see that, all of that through the policy list. A quick preview of some of the reports that we have. Play. There you go. So if we go into the policies, I'm sorry. So the policies you see in here are very easy to deploy. We have a list of all the policies. So now you don't have to go and search in our policy list, figure out what data type it is, how to configure it, and how to write a plist, and make sure you put the dict in there and the key and all of that stuff. We tell you, you see those icons on the right, we tell you exactly which platform supports which policy. And then from there, you can configure policies. One of the things I like to show my customers is the update policies. So if I go in here, I can pin the browser to a certain version, and this applies for Windows and Mac. So now all of your browsers stay on a certain version. You can upgrade from there by just changing the pin, or you can downgrade automatically by just changing it and enabling the rollback. Additionally, for your app owners, you can change the channel and put them on the beta channel. So now they're testing ahead on their applications, and they're telling you, hey, my app doesn't work. Please don't update, instead of, hey man, there's a fire drill, my app doesn't work, the whole business is down, can we go and figure out how to downgrade the browser, right? So the other thing that we have is the concept of a relaunch notification. How many of you guys have nightmares with updating the browsers because your users don't necessarily restart the browser, they keep their Amazon tabs, right? There's a few of you guys. They're YouTube tabs, and maybe they have Facebook tabs, and maybe there's one work tab, they're actually doing work in there, right? We have our relaunch policy, which allows you to enforce users to adhere to certain security standards, right? You set up whatever window you want to give them. Based on that, they'll get notifications for that window to restart the browser, and if they fail to do that at the end of the window, well, there's a pop-up that they cannot dismiss or do anything with it. It just forces you to restart the browser. Similarly, extension management, as I'm getting there, is super simple. You saw me add an extension from the store. It took me like 2 clicks. The guys that manage extensions, you remember you have to copy the extension ID. Have you ever missed the character? Yeah, and then you're like, why is this extension still approved? Oh, crap, right? That is so much easier in here because you know exactly what extension you're adding, right? Similarly, we have the concept of a request workflow. For you guys that block extensions for everyone, what's the process to request an extension to be approved? Any? Software request, right?
They email us and we
Email, all right. So, and then you tell them no, right? So what we do is
Why
we
you've
make
been a
it
Mac
easy
admin
for your
long
users. Your users don't have to get frustrated because I need this honey coupon extension to shop at work, right? They, instead of calling the help desk and yelling at the poor agent that's following a script or sending a nasty email because I need this extension to shop at work or whatever it is, right? You go to the Chrome Web Store, you'll see a request button. You click request and you put a business justification. I need this to do my job. That gets added to the console, and in here, you get a notification. Hey, there's a new extension request. You can look at it, get information about the extension, who's the developer, what's your risk score. Any of you guys heard of CR Excavator or Spin AI? Wow, none. Okay, so those are two trusted industry sources for software vulnerability. They test out the software based on what calls they do and things like that, and they give it a risk score. So we trust those two tools. A lot of admins that we talk to really love those tools, so there's no point in us building our own score. So we give you that score directly from those tools. So your information security teams, usually the guys that say no, can go and look at those extensions and say, hey, this looks good, fine, you can go and approve it, and then you can approve it from there.
And Alex, I can tell you from an education standard, those of you who are in schools, how many of your browser-based applications say a plugin needs to be installed? And of course, some teacher or some department has bought something and you didn't find out about it and all of a sudden it's not working. Who do the teachers call? Do they call the help desk and put in a help desk ticket? I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten calls from school board members and superintendents saying, Mrs. Johnson says you're keeping her kids from learning.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm keeping their kids from learning? With this workflow, the teacher could, all kidding aside, with the shopping experience, this is a great workflow for a teacher to put in a request, it come to my system, and all of a sudden I go, not only is this a good tool for this teacher, but guess what? This is a good tool for everybody in the organization. And Alex, I can turn around and do what? I can push it to everybody.
Yeah. So when you take that extension and you approve it, you can approve it at an organization unit level. And the cool part about it is the people that have requested, they get a notification that a request is approved, and now anyone in that same organizational unit is able to just get it, right? So we make it easy for your users to do their job. They should just be excited to use the browser and not frustrated, unless you have a really awful information security team and you can't fix that, right?
I thought I was going to say a bad Jamf and was pointing at
no.
me.
The other thing that we have is the reports. I mentioned that a few times. And then in here we have the version report. It's pretty cool, right? My favorite one is the apps and extension usage report. I call this Pandora's box, and I'm going to show that in just a second. Because if you now magic extensions, you're really going to find all sorts of things in there, right? That one's loading right now. And then you can see I have all sorts of extensions. It also tells you if you're ready for Manifest v3. If any of you guys are not aware of that, we're changing the way extensions are built, and this gives you those insights in knowing if your company is ready for that or not, and if you have to have a call with those vendors and say, hey man, can you please give me an extension that works for my environment or not? You can also take action from here to block an extension or force install it. And then in here, we have our concept of connectors, which allows you to integrate and send events to Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, Splunk, and so forth. And we can also, if you're Okta shop, Okta can now use the browser to query for the browser for data. Is it managed? Is it up to date? And things like that during the authentication mechanism. So then you can have a more complex multi-factor authentication, right? So with that in mind, we have a booth in here. Come see us if you're virtual, I'm sorry, but you can also contact us. Log on to our website, chromeenterprise.google.com, and you can check all the information about the Chrome browser management solution. And if you're in person in here, come see us. We'll give you a proper demo, hands-on, and we'll answer any questions you have.
And also tomorrow, shameless plug, I'll be doing a brain date Thursday morning. If you want to look it up, just look for Larry the Weird Guy, and you can go ahead and schedule with me. The point more than anything else about this, and I think Alex hammered it home, is what we're really trying to strive for is that consistent user experience. Because I always use my wife as an example. My wife is the most wonderful lady on the planet. We've been married 39 years. I still am amazed why. I think she lost a massive bet. But in any event, we've been married for 39 years, and my wife is a user of technology. She's one of those people, she is probably your typical person in your organization. She doesn't care how it works. She just wants it to work. And that's the thing. With a tool like this, we can empower our users to have that consistent experience. And it's consistent and it's unified. But we can also start slowly. The tools that Curtis and I provided to you, you can start down that journey. You don't have to be driving a Ferrari day one. I gave you a bicycle and a tricycle. So it doesn't mean that you can't do great things. And it's how you want to take this journey down your path. Again, I think Alex did a great job. Curtis did a great job. They kind of let me come along because I'm the comedy relief. But I appreciate your time. We'll be around. We'll be here after our sessions. Do we want to do any Q&A right now, Rob?
Well, we have time for basically one quick question. The rest, we're going to try to take offline and answer in the comments. So
Or come see us at the booth.
Or come see the booth, yeah. The one main question with 14 votes is where can we get an offline t-shirt?
Okay.
You'll have to answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are limited edition marketing t-shirts that they gave us for being at some events, so I'm sorry. But you're welcome to plagiarize the design and make your own. We believe in open sharing culture. So.
And just as a humorous anecdote, I somehow managed to get a baseball cap for offline. My baseball cap is now in San Antonio, Texas. It is on the head of a 6-year-old boy named Connor, who is my grandson, who came to my house and said, "Papa, I want the dinosaur," and it has never seen the light of day since. It's gone. So I keep asking Alex if I can have another one. So he's not taking care of me. Hopefully he'll take care of you. Again, we appreciate it. We'll be around here for a few extra minutes. Thank you for your time. Have a great conference.
Thanks, everyone.
We have, I think, some swag, I think, that we're giving out. So go see Kostya over there. Thank you for participating. Good job.
Yes, nice.